Press again. Right. Alright, so this is a shir in Sefer Tanya. We're holding on Omid Esser in the print of the Tanya, near to the bottom of the Omid. And this shir is taking place on Sunday, Yutes Elu Toshin Ayin Ar. Alright, so we saw about the Nefesh Achas Mitzad HaKlipa Vasita Achra in the makeup of every Yid, who has two Nishomas in the Lashon of the verse, but Nefoshes, according to the more exact definitional status given to them by the Alter Rebbe. And the first one, the Nefesh Achas, when I say first one because it appears first in the system, and it's born with the Adam when he's born. It's Mitzad HaKlipa Vasita Achra. So we dealt at some length with those two expressions. Klippa was the concept of a covering and a protection at the beginning, but gradually you've got to put it off and get rid of it. And Sitra Achra we described at some length as being the idea of the other side of the street and going the wrong way, etc. So that was going to get to the level or the source point from which it derives this nefesh. He mislabeshes bedam ha'odam, and it enters and finds itself in the dam of the mensch. Lahachya eshagu, to give life to the body. In other words, that the body is a dover gashmi, the body is a physical thing. Physical things need to be given life by something which its function is to give life. And that's the function of spirituality, of ruchnius. The function of ruchnius is to put life and to light up gashmius. Now gashmius has its own life in its own right, otherwise it wouldn't be there. But in order to function and reveal its task and its job or function that's been given by the Creator, it's got to have a spiritual entity inside it. And if our bodies need a inner functioning power which lights up them from the point of view of spirituality, and that spirituality leads to a higher function and form and aim and grasp on the part of the body. In other words, you begin to, through the nefesh, you begin to have things like reasoning and feelings and all those things which lead the body in certain directions and cause him to be so united with the spiritual aspect that he begins to function in a very essential way according to the instructions of the spiritual. So that's the expression lahachiyos esaguf. That doesn't mean that the guf couldn't exist and doesn't actually have a life force of its own without the nefesh, but the nefesh is lahachiyos, to bring a certain life of what we might call higher aim and purpose into the body and make it function on a more spiritual level, and through the union of the spiritual with the physical, to bring it also to things like intellectual activity and other things which the body may not be so given just purely mitzvah its own chayv. Therefore we see Rahman and Atlah, that the body can be dead and yet it's still there. In other words, it still has chayv keeping it there, but it doesn't live. The nefesh causes what we call life, and therefore we use the expression lahachiyos. Well, life doesn't mean existence. Life means what we might call aimed and express existence through the function of higher koyches, which elevate the body to a certain level. So, what does this nefesh achas that he's mitzad the klippa sitracha? What does he elevate the body to a certain level? What is his function of lahachis aguf? He is mislabish in the dam ha'odam in order to do that. Lahachis aguf is a result of his coming where? Into the dam ha'odam. Now, why do we need the dam? Because it's very well known in Chassidus that dam is the dam is warm. It has a certain temperature to it, and that warmth is an expression of certain physical, spiritual touches and aspects which accordingly enter the dam through this nefesh achas mitzad klippa. Therefore, we notice that when the dam is it's got its temperature and it's giving off certain vapors, then the man feels that he's alive and he functions, and he's able to bring into the power even some of his. Therefore, the Gemara uses the expression that there's a minimal shiur of dam, that the whole life force of the body is tolerant that. The Revi'ah's dam is like the center of the last final ability of the body to keep functioning without the what we call life, without this union in order to lahagis. Therefore, the dam is a very important entity. I won't go into all the details here, but the dam has got several levels in it of chayis due to the fact that the dam is a fitting medium into which this lower level of ruchnis, albeit, can enter. Because something which is just purely physical in the most simple way would find it very hard to be a medium through which the spiritual entity would be able to express itself. And if there's something special about dam, and that's what dam has got itself, what we call ruchnias shebegashmias, and then that allows it to have gashmi sheberuchnias, and through those two terms which I just used, this nefesh is able to form a hold in the dam, dafka. Okay, so that's without going too much into the whole interrelationship of this nefesh is able to form through a series of gradations a union with the dam, and its function is lahachiyos, to give rise to the body in a living way as we understand life, an expression, action, purpose, function. Kidiksiv, as it is written, ki nefesh habosor badam hi. Now this is a pasuk in Vayikra, which is actually speaking about the prohibition in the Torah to eat blood. We're not allowed to eat the blood of an animal or any living creature. Even oddly enough, you're not supposed to eat your own blood. If it should happen that you come across your own blood spilled on food, then don't eat it. As we're not allowed to eat dam, and it writes over there in the one of the reasons that are given why it's forbidden to eat dam, ki nefesh habosor, the nefesh of the flesh, badam hi, is in blood. So if you eat dam, it's like as if you're eating the very life force of the animal concerned. And the Torah permits you to eat the basa, but not, as it were, to take the life and to eat the actual life force of the animal. And therefore it's written, ki nefesh habasar, the nefesh of the basar, badam, is in the dam. In other words, hinting at how does nefesh and basar, how do they get together? They get together through the dam. The dam is a special form of material in the basar which catches the nefesh, and therefore the two of them, in their union together, they give rise to what we call lahachiyos, to bring function, purpose, and all those things into the body. Movement and function into the body. So, now it's written here with a expression, kidiksiv, as it is written. In other words, it's not written directly in this posik, the concept we're after, but it's written directly enough for the Alter Rebbe to refer to it as having been written in the Torah, but he writes it kidiksiv, as it is written, because that posik is really talking about a prohibition of eating dam. It's not really talking about the relationship of nefesh. And it just says that ki nefesh habaso b'damhu, that the nefesh of the flesh is in dam, and therefore don't eat the dam. In other words, it's not a posik which is explaining or showing me, or from which I can prove a direct proof of the relationship of dam with nefesh, but it just so happens that in that context there's a certain very brief reference on the part of the Torah to what we want. Ki nefesh habaso b'dam hi. All right, so we've got a very how we call it, simple form of spirituality, which can unite with blood, and through the elevated and slightly ruchnistic spiritual aspect that there is in dam, they're able to form a union, and then together they bring this lahachiyes, the what we might call the bodily life, gufnistic, the bodily life, lahachiyes aguf. Umimena boys, and from this nefesh, boys, kol hamidas rois, come all the evil midas rois, all the evil attributes, all of them, kol hamidas rois, me arba yesedes roim shaba, from the four evil elements that there are in this nefesh. And then he begins to tell me what they are in detail. Dainu kas v'gaiva miyisod ha'eish, and so on. But just a word now to see where we've gone a step further. That from this nefesh, says the Rebbe, come all of the evil attributes, all the evil emotional attributes of the Adam, and they all come because she's got four elements in her, and all these different attributes come from different elements. Now that's based on the famous principle brought down in very early scientists and very accepted by Teres Chassidus, that all matter, and not only matter physically, physical matter, but all entities, even to spiritual entities, and even to very high, almost divine entities, are made up of four basic elementary states or materials, or however they're, depending on what level they happen to be. And this is a very famous basic idea in early science, that there were four states to everything. And Siddur backs it up. Siddur says that is basically correct. And which suggests that the reason is, you might say, well, why would we just make an effort to try to keep yourself awake, okay? But you didn't get a sleep last night, or you didn't get a sleep in the middle of the day. I think it's also because if there was an air conditioner, it would probably be easier to stay awake. Anyway, Siddur backs this theory very richly. We find that there are four letters in the essential name of the Eibishter, Yud K Vav K, and that name is the Shem HaEtzem. It's the name of Hashem's Etzem. You can't really call Hashem's Etzem anything, but a name is like albeit slightly distant in him, but a name does have a certain kesher with the Etzem. Since Hashem's very essence, as it were, on a certain level of describing the idea of essence, is called Yud K Vav K, that's a sign that he, Kaviola, also comes in 4 different aspects, which are all joined together, and they make him. In a similar way, every entity is bound together through the interunion of those 4 letters, Yud, K, Vav, K, and therefore you have an interunion in every entity, that it's made up of a binding together and a union and a fusion of these 4 basic elements, all which begin in the original state in the 4 letters of Hashem's name. Now later in Perek Lamed Ches, the Alter Rebbe says that clearly, which indicates that the theory of the Arba Yesodis goes back to the whole concept of Elokus, and the fact that Elokus expresses itself in those 4 very basic ways, Yud, K, and Vav, K, and they're like the shores of all entities and all beings, and they make up the fusion together, which means that every existing entity is a hanging together of 4 other entities. Which means that if you wanted, let's take one Yesod, let's take Yesod HaMayim. The Yesod HaMayim's also got 4 Yesodas in it. It's also got, and then you can take those 4 Yesodas and divide them, and you can always go deeper and deeper and more profound in the concept of the 4 elements. And that's just by the way, I'm only mentioning this, the fact that 4 elements are the basis of all matter and all existing entity, then that means that entity consists of the fusion and hanging together of very different things. I mean, Ophir, which is the dust of the earth, and Aish and fire are very different things. They're the very unusually different entities, and they act in completely different ways. And yet, nonetheless, we say that every entity has got both Aish and Ophir, and has also got Mayim and Ruach, which means that if it's like that everything is really made up and fused together, I would use the expression, of 4 entities, then matter and the whole world are like a union together. And this is one of the Yesodis of the idea of unity in Yiddishkeit, that it's one of the indications of the basic idea of Hashem's unity, and in that He causes unity in everything, that we are an example of Hashem's unity, not only mitzad our souls, but mitzad the makeup even of our physical body. How can you get 4 things which are so different to fuse together to form another entity and another appearance altogether? Well, that's through a tremendous power of drawing together and unity of 4 inyanim together, isn't it? You don't seem to be in the best mood today. You okay? And
how can water contain fire inside?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I asked even better, how does Ophir contain fire? Well, let's put it another way. Well, at the beginning, how do they sort of join together? You know, how do they hang together? Oh, well, you're right. According to what I just said, that each element has in itself the other 4 elements. So then the question will be, how does water contain fire? So this question is dealt with in the famous Hecholza, there's a famous kuntres that the Rebbe Rashab gave out about, about sinas chinam, about the whole idea of pointless hatred and everything. Yeah, a very famous thing called the kuntres Hecholza. It's based on a pasuk in Pasha Masai in Sefer Bamidbar. And over there, the Rebbe Rashab says that the fact that water's got fire in it, and fire has water in it, means that, and they don't put one another out, means that the fire and the water must be in slightly higher stages than what they are, together. And yet, nonetheless, what they are down here in the world. The fact that they do actually exist, and they don't put one another out inside the. That's what I was saying. That's a sign of the divine entity, which is joining two opposites together. And Hashem keeps things which, albeit we can maybe argue that they're not on the same exact level as what they are. You know, simple ash and simple water, how they've come down into ash and water separately into this world. Maybe they're on a slightly higher level, but the fact that they exist together, well, that's a sign of this deep inner unity of everything. That there's a tremendous divine force which is pulling opposites together in the makeup of every inyan, even spiritual and even divine. Everything is still you've got opposite traces in them, which a divine force higher than both of them is holding them together without them putting. And we had that in the Geras HaKodesh not long ago. The Alter Rebbe said, Lamali got the two angels, Gabriel, he's Aish, and Michael is mine, and their presence in front of Hashem unites them together. So if you look in that contrast, it's in about, I can find it for you, it's in about the 8th or 7th chapter over there, inside the contrast of Chalzot. There the Rebbe mentions that point that you just brought up, and he answers it the way, and that leads us in a very sort of loose way, being as I am not a practiced scientist, not even an amateur scientist, I can't. But that's this whole concept of what Einstein, for example, what he called united field theory. You know, this everything's like a united. There's like a oneness that's uniting everything and making it all hang together. And he tried to work out, you know, this theory which would explain the whole concept of how everything is just one union and all matter sort of fusing together through the power of the united field. Did you hear about it? Yes, I must admit I don't know a great deal about it, but that was his great theory towards the end of his life, Einstein. Apart from the relativity, he came up with this other, and that's this idea of the four Yesedes. That's the basic lead-in to Yiddishkeit's concept of oneness, and the concept of the power of the divine, which is the higher power beyond the two opposites, which holds them together and unites them. And it's only when you break that union, then you get the expression of Aish on its own, and then Aish and Mayim will, object one to the other. But if you unite them with this higher force, which is called the divinity and the oneness, which is holding everything together, then they don't affect one the other. That's the basic idea. Anyway, so everything's made up of four Yesedes. So the nefesh ha'achas mitzad ha'klipa v'sitra acha is also, which goes into the dam in order to cause the body to be alive. It's also got Arba Yesedes Haroim. However, he said, Mimena boys call Hamidos Rois. And all the bad midas come from these Arba Yesedes. And he also calls them Roim. He also calls them bad, or not good, Shebor, which are in this nefesh. Behind it, he starts touching out which they are. Now, up till now, we've just been talking about the nefesh, and we've been saying it's Meklipa V'sita Achra, and that it's in the dam. But now we've used a rather heavy term, and we've said that Mimena boys from it come Ra. Now, when you say the word Ra, you tremble slightly, because the word Ra means evil. Now, nobody used, so far, when talking about this nefesh, we didn't use the expression evil, and we didn't link it directly with the inyan of evil. We just said the whole inyan was lahachi esagur. So now we've said that it produces evil from its own inner four elements, which are also evil. Now, why would we say that just because it's malubish in the dam, in order to make the body live, why would we say that it's evil? And where would we get? How would we jump? So Einochrami, we said it's mitzad klipa v'sitra acha. But klipa v'sitra acha we saw were both expressions which might lead eventually to evil, but they're not necessarily open evil themselves. We said klipa is something you've got to get rid of once you mature. As you grow, you've got to get rid of it. Sitra acha we said was something that's a little on the wrong direction. You can bring it to the right direction. So maybe klipa v'sitra acha might lead us into Ra. Yeah, but to say no, the nefesh abami is in Yone, or we didn't call Bahamis yet. We just said it's a nefesh achas. It's got four evil elements, and they lead to all the midas, all the evil attributes. Now, why would we say that? What's the connection? What leads me from a hachias as a guf, mitzad klipa, mitzad teracha, into four elements, all of which are evil, and which produce me through combinations all the evil midas. Now, evil midas can be very unpleasant. Evil midas, as we're going to see, some of them are mentioned here are not so pleasant. There's even maybe a lot more of them. So here we come to a very basic idea that we need to put down in order to understand this and the coming passage a little better. That when the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, then he made a revolution, as everybody knows. And he blew, as it were, all the accepted but many of the accepted ideas related to spirituality, service of Hashem, understanding of the different relations and interrelations of the different forces within the soul and and the different psychological building of the soul and the whole thing. So, Yesh Lemada, with those few words, the Alter Rebbe has introduced a whole new thing. And that is, what is Ra and what is Tov? What is bad and what is good? You know, got any takers? What is bad and what is good? So, the Alter Rebbe says that an entity which thinks only about itself, and its whole inyan is just to gain its own means, and at any end to gain those means, even if it means maybe treading on somebody else's means or their life, that is evil. In other words, that where you think only of the self, and you're only concerned with the self, and you don't know anything else, that's not good. Like we said before, body, the human body is made in such a way, well, originally maybe it wasn't. I mean, I could spend a lot of time talking about that. The original way the body was. We'll come to it in Perikles shortly, and we'll have to deal with it a little bit. But basically, originally, before the Chet Hadas, the body maybe wasn't like this. Not only maybe, but pretty sure that it was. But after there's been the whole downfall of the Chet Hadas, then one of the things of the body is it tends to look after itself, and it tends to want only its own inyan. And its satisfaction, and what you might call nachas ruach, or a higher concept what we call tainuk, is only when it's been given what it wants, and then it has time. So the Alter Rebbe said that concept of wanting something for the self and being very pleased because you got your own self for your own self, and you don't really care about anything else, that's right. That's evil. Even without you have actually done a really evil thing. Well, but that itself is evil. What is toiv? Toiv is where you do something without yourself. Toiv is the pshat that you get beyond yourself altogether, and you don't even do a good thing for yourself, but you do it because Hashem wants it that way, and you do it because it's Rotzen Hashem, and if it's Rotzen Hashem, then it's what we call truth. That's the concept of what's truth and sheker also. Basically, that's what it comes back to. So, this nefesh, as the Alter Rebbe, is in the body. Its whole in is lahachias, is a guf. Guf, you don't need to be told very much. A body is a bodily thing which is looking, it's looking for its own thing. That's what a body is. A body is something that's looking for its own thing. And it's looking in detailed ways of expression for its own thing. You are a nefesh, this nefesh we're talking about now, its whole aim is to feed life force into that body. Yeah? In other words, to make it into a body. In other words, not to dictate to the body in a way which will alter the way of doing things on the part of the body, but to make the body do its things in a way that the body does them. Oh, if that's the way you want, that's your whole inyan, then you're already getting into Ra. In other words, Ra is not thinking about Aleph, about anything but the self. Beis, not thinking about other entities. Gimel, not thinking about other people, for sure not. And maybe we might say last, not thinking about Hashem. Just thinking about the self, for the sake of the self. That, according to Tanya, is Ra. And that's what we're going to see as we go along throughout the whole Tanya. That is the basis of what the Alter Rebbe considers Ra. Once you become disinterested, even on a beginning level, you're moving into Toiv. Maybe not perfect Toiv, maybe not real Toiv, but you're already getting out of evil into Toiv. So he says that's the trouble with this nefesh, that his whole inyan is to bother about life, giving life to an entity which its whole inyan is its own, just its own thing. And that's what it's there for. And therefore he says it's evil. It's Ra, and it doesn't produce anything which is good. It produces evil. So once again, in evil also there are gradations. There can be less evil, there can be more evil, there can be, we'll see later on, evil that's mixed with good, a certain trace of good also in the evil, but it's evil. It's no good. And therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, it's got four elements in it. All of those elements are this concept of evil, of the self, and they lead to all of your evil attributes and spiritual attributes, which we call midas. That's what's called it. So it's midah. So he says that mimena boys call hamidas, mimena boys call hamidas roim. Yeah, and they come from the arvi yesodis roim sheba. In other words, that Ra doesn't express itself just in one thing. And the nefesh, being as she is a spiritual entity, it's easier for her to express herself in different ways, and they can be different fusions and expressions of these four basic elements, which are there, like we said, mitzad the divinity in every entity. So, he said, for example, he said, where are we? He said, Shabbat Dahainu, for example, Kas v'gaivo miyaseid ho'esh, shenigebo lamayla, anger and, how do you call it, pride, conceit. What's the word in English? Conceit. The feeling of the self. Gaiva is the feeling of the self in its pure,
ego.
In its pure form. And we can feel ourselves in all sorts of ways. A gaiva is where we, we're really aware of ourselves, and we're aware of what you might call the superiority of ourselves, and the fact that everything is due to that superiority in the form of honor and all the other vices that go with gaiva. And therefore, gaiva, says the Alter Rebbe, is fire. It keeps going upwards. We notice that you start off a little bit and then you get more and more self-affiliated and self-aware to the point that you see everything through your own dark glasses. Everything first of all is measured as to how much will it support the honor that you believe is due to you, how much will it cancel from it, how much will it bring you into good, not relations, but good superior in the eyes of others, and how others are so terrible that they don't notice this tremendous smile that you have, and how chutzpahdik they are that they don't act with more proper honor to you, give you more appreciation and understanding that's due to you, because you are a very, very important entity, and that just keeps going up and up and up. So that's something that goes upwards, and the very concept of feeling yourself to be elevated and big in the eyes of the world, well, that is an upward going idea. So that's the concept of Gaiva. And he said Kaas. Kaas is even before Gaiva, Kaas. So now, what is Kaas? Kaas is anger. And so why do you get angry? Why does somebody fly into anger about any given topic which may not happen to be? It's because he feels himself. He's so in love with his own self. How dare you do something which is not according to his way of doing it? Or how come you offended him? Or how come all sorts of possibilities? The allied link between it and Gaiva is closer. Therefore, there's other things which are from Yisod Eish. There are other inyan, but the Alter brought what we might call two very immediate source points which link together. Because if you're a Baal Kaas, then for sure you're a Baal Gaiva. That's what says. All those who are Kaasanim, and they fly easy into Kaas because they love themselves. They're very, very aware of themselves. They hold very much from their own importance. And the other way around also to an extent. If you hold of your own self, then you're gonna get angry and upset about everything. Or somebody who is botel and self-faced, and he's got what's called emissary, self-effacement. He doesn't really care what people. What's the matter to him? He's not worth anything anyway. In a good way. Therefore, he doesn't have all these problems. So that was the Alter. Yisod Eish is Nigbal Amayla. So with that, the Alter is hinting to us what Kaas and Gaiva are. When you want to go upwards, not in a good way, not because you're looking for spiritual attainment. You're wanting yourself to be elevated more and more, and that's fire. So we see the unusual thing about fire, and in spirituality and in higher levels, the mila of fire in holy midas is that it goes up. It's holy, and therefore we have the rotzoi, the desire to go out. You maybe met rotzoi v'shoy, you met the two concepts. Rotzoi, the desire to go out, which is ahava, basically. It's connected with the infinite. It's also Eish. So you saw the Eish, as the Alter brings in Prekim, not very comfortable here now. That's the holy Yisod Eish. Over the evil Yisod Eish is Kaas, is Gaiva v'Kaas. They are the two basic fire makeups within the four elements of this nefesh, which brings to evil. V'taivas hatanugim miyisoid hamayim, ki hamayim machmichim ko minay tainor. And he said, there's a certain thing called taiva, longing. And he said, what is longing? What is lusting? Lusting is that you're looking for tanugim. You want pleasure. Now, pleasure is not necessarily, once again, pleasure is not necessarily an evil thing. There can be pleasure in ruchnism. Until the Yosid Lover, the whole inner is going to be devekis in Hashem with the most high and unbelievable pleasure. But what he means here, he used the expression taivas hatanugim. In other words, ha-tanugim means, you know, the tanugim of this world, you know, how they call chasing after all the, you know, have pleasure, you know, look after pleasure, have pleasure, this is very tasteful, and this is, and to my sorrow, if you look on all advertising and all the things which have anything to do with, you know, matters like foods or all other things that feed or in some way support the human being, they're all based on this idea of, you know, get your pleasure, get your taiva out of it, get your tanug. So the word taiva is like the movement. Tanug is the realization of the taiva, what you might call the fulfillment of the taiva. He says that comes from water. He said that's the moisture of the nefesh, mitzad klipa. I'm not calling him Bahamish yet because the Alter Rebbe hasn't done it yet. He said that Mayim, he said, Matzmichim kol minei tanug. Now, we'll finish here today, but that expression, Mayim Matzmichim kol minei tanug. Mayim Matzmichim is beklala ainu with mayim. They cause things to grow. Matzmichim is the word to lahatzmiach, to cause something to grow upwards. From the word tzemach, lahatzmiach. So he said it's a lotion which occurs in some very early sefer somewhere. It's not a usual lotion, it's not a Gemara lotion, it's not in the Medrash, but it's hidden in some great sefer. Mayim matzmichim kol minei tanug. Just like mayim cause things to grow from the ground, also if you give in to mayim. Now what is mayim? Moisture. What is moisture? Moisture draws you to something else. I remember there's an old saying in Yiddish that if you give somebody a wet hand to shake, your hand is wet and you give it to shake. They say, oh, I'm sorry I have a wet hand. So the old answer to that in Yiddish is that Wasser klebt. That on the contrary, it's a good thing because water makes things stick together. And the whole idea of giving your hand is that we stick together, you know, we become one. So it's good that your hand is wet because it makes things stick together. In other words, moisture causes, and once the thing becomes moist, you have to dry it energetically to get rid of the water. The water joins on and clips and becomes part of the thing which it touches. And therefore we'll see that Mayim is talking this idea of being longing and moving towards what appears to be the fulfillment of the body, and the Alter Rebbe says, sorry, that is wrong, that is evil. Because what are you thinking of? You're thinking of yourself. And you think of this, you're cleaving, but you're cleaving because of pleasure. It's no matter, that's the union that we're doing. So, we've still got a bit of a way to go, and then we're going to get on to an amazing bomb that the Alter Rebbe threw here at the end of the Perek. It's well known. It was one of the shattering inyanim of Tanya, which many people, even to this day, are not able quite manage to digest, but I hope that with Hashem's help, I'll make it digestible for you. Okay.